Hello and a very good evening to you. Welcome to KTN Prime on this Wednesday, the 5th day of April 2017. My name is Sophia Wanuna. Our sign language interpreter tonight is William Sila. Here are our top stories.
Na hapa mbele ya Mwenyezi Mungu mbele yenu hapa ya kwamba wakigoma tena hata hiyo kazi hawatapata, tutawafuta immediately.
This is my decree. President Kenyatta draws the red line for Kenyan doctors. End of an era. Uhuru Kenyatta's sister and Kenya's first woman mayor, Margaret passes on.
Political parties should be reminded that no party primaries shall take place until the Commission gazettes the list of aspirants.
Political parties are independent institutions. We are parties which are members of parties, organizations. They don't belong to the IEBC.
ODM clashes with IEBC over nominations, but ODM says primaries will continue. And death of a Mogumo tree, while Madeira came to a standstill as elders cleansed the fallen Mogumo shrine. We begin with President Kenyatta's family is tonight in mourning following the death of Margaret Kenyatta, the first daughter of Kenya's founding president, Jomo Kenyatta, and former mayor of Nairobi. Margaret, a stepsister to President Uhuru Kenyatta, died today at her Lavington home, aged 89 years. The deceased was Jomo Kenyatta's second born after her brother Peter Migori, who was born to the founding president's first wife, Grace Wahu. Margaret Kenyatta, she served as the mayor of Nairobi, the first woman to hold that position in Kenya from 1970 to 1976, before being Kenya's permanent representative to the United Nations, where she served for 10 years from 1976 to 1986. Right, let's move on to the unfolding events over the ODM chaos in Migori now. And ODM leader Raila Odinga has condemned that violence, saying some leaders incited supporters to cause the mayhem. Now, Rashid Ronald reports on how Migori has been a hotbed of political chaos for a long time.
Scenes witnessed on Monday in Migori town. Several people were injured. Among them, Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho's bodyguard was shot in the leg. The leader of the Orange Party has now spoken on the chaos. Raila Odinga says the party will not tolerate such scenes.
Most unfortunate incident in Migori, and our party is not going to tolerate political hooliganism or thuggery in the party, and whoever is involved or responsible will be severely dealt with by the party. Those issues will be dealt with by the relevant organs of the party.
And elders and church leaders from Migori County condemned the violence but cautioned the Orange Party against imposing any leader on the people of Migori.
Nililani nikasema kwamba ofisi ya ODM ikifunguliwa hapa Migori, sisi wazee wote wa jamii tualikwe tukae. Na hii ya juzi litendeka litokea wapi? Na tunaona watu wanaotoka nje tusiwalaumu, wanatumia watoto wetu. Na watoto wetu wote ambao ni ngazi wanakanyagwa, tumewalaumu kabisa, waende kabisa na kitendo hicho.
Indeed, this was not the first time that the ghost of political violence was visiting Migori County. September 8th, 2014, and the head of state came face to face with political violence in Migori. And late last year, more than 2 people were killed and several injured during the ODM primaries in this border county. Police have commenced investigations into the latest chaos as ODM leader Raila Odinga summoned Migori Governor Okoth Obado and his Mombasa counterpart Hassan Joho to Nairobi. Rashid Ronald, KTN News, in the county of Kisumu.
Former Rango MP and Migori governorship hopeful Ochilo Ayako has blamed Migori Governor Okoth Obado over the chaos that rocked ODM rally in Migori on Monday. Ayako claims that Governor Obado and his henchmen stormed the party offices, which were to be launched off that fateful day, and destroyed lots of property before proceeding to the rally.
The disruption of the rally was done by Governor Obado, and it's a most unfortunate criminal incident. If you look at today's newspaper, he is not apologetic about it. He seems to think that Migori County is his kingdom, and people should ask for permission from him to visit in Migori County. Those of us who witnessed the disruption will not be scared or cowed by the cowardly activities of the governor. I want to say that the police in Migori County are on the dock now, the public dock. They must be seen to be taking action against the governor and his team. If they do not take action against the governor and his team, it will appear that there are two sets of law, for the mighty and for the small people.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has clashed with ODM on the dates for holding party primaries. IEBC Chairperson Wafula Chebukati says all party primaries should be conducted between April the 14th and April the 26th, after the Commission gazettes names of all aspirants from respective political parties. But in a quick rejoinder, Raila Odinga says ODM will hold its primaries as scheduled, except for Bungoma and Busia primaries, which have now been pushed to Saturday.
In mid-March, ODM's National Elections Board reviewed the timetable for party primaries to start Friday, April 7th. Early last month, the party had planned to conduct primaries from March 30th. On Monday at Bomas, the party told its supporters and aspirants to ready for the primaries. However, IEBC has now thrown spanners into the works.
Political parties should be reminded that no party primaries shall take place until the Commission gazettes the list of aspirants. Gazettement will be on 12th of this month, and today is the last day for receiving the names of candidates from political parties.
ODM party leader Raila Odinga was quick to lash out at IEBC for interfering in political parties' affairs.
IEBC should not try to micromanage political parties. Parties should have their own programs, how they're going to do their nominations, and each party has got its own constitution, as it's got its own nomination rules and regulations. So we don't want the IEBC to try to tell us when we're going to do our nominations or how we're going to do those nominations.
According to the review timetable, ODM plan to have conducted primaries in 10 counties by Tuesday next week, the day that IEBC will publish a gazette notice of all political aspirants to pave way for nominations.
IEBC give political parties a space and a chance. Why do you want to gazette our members? These are our members. Go to UK. The government does not regulate how the Labour Party does its affairs, or the Conservatives, or the US, the Republicans and the Democrats. Political parties are free organizations, members belong voluntarily, and we don't want to be micromanaged by an election body.
Raila maintains ODM will adhere to its timetable for primaries.
We already told the IEBC we're going to do our nominations, and we don't want them to come and tell us when to do it. See, we know when we want to do it, and we know why we want to do it. We said if they're not done properly, they'll be repeated. They're going to be open, free, and fair. That is what is most important.
The chairperson of ODM's National Elections Board, Judith Pareno, says the primaries will start Saturday 8th April in Busia, Bungoma, and Machakos. This change has been occasioned by the fact that schools will be closing this week and are normally used as polling centers.
I have a letter, the letter dated 31st January, where they allowed us to start our nominations. We told them that they were going by that letter. They didn't do that letter, and they cannot have ambitions until as much to.
Patrick Amimo, KTN News.
And so we draw a big question from that story by Patrick Amimo. We're asking you, do you think the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is right in barring the Orange Democratic Movement from holding party primaries until the list of candidates is gazetted? Talk to us tonight. We'd like to hear from you. You can tweet at KTN News, at KTN Kenya, at Sophia Wanuna, or send in a message 22155. Let's hear your thoughts on that. Now, Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta has advised all county governments to pay up any pending arrears due to doctors for the period during the 100-day strike. The president, who was speaking while touring parts of Nairobi and Kiambu counties, however, issued the directive accompanied by a stern warning to the medics who had threatened to go back on strike following delays in payments of their salaries. Timothy Otieno has the details.
Nimesema leo, nauliza sisi kama serikali, wale wadaktari ambao walikuwa wanafanya kazi mahospitali ya serikali watalipwa hiyo miezi yao. Wacha nimalize. Nauliza kwa heshima, magavana pia, ndio tuweze kuacha mambo haya, tuache manyuma, wacha walipe hawa madaktari.
It's a directive that would follow weeks of pent-up frustration from medics, many of whom had on several occasions threatened to go back on strike following unpaid dues. This letter, for instance, dated the 4th of April this year, written by KMPDU Lower Eastern Branch officials to the County Secretary for Kitui, requesting for the pay, becoming the latest attempt by the medics to resolve the issue. Just last month, doctors from Embu County engaged in a go-slow after they were allegedly struck off the county payroll.
What plans, by taking these actions, what plans do they have for healthcare in Embu County?
But the head of state's response to the matter did not come without a warning.
Lakini mimi na hapa mbele ya Mwenyezi Mungu, mbele yenu hapa, ya kwamba wakigoma tena, hata hiyo kazi hawatapata, tutawafuta immediately. Hiyo ni namna hiyo. Ni namna hiyo.
While reacting to the directive, the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union Secretary General Ouma Oluga did welcome the move to have the counties pay up the dues, but insisted that threatening to fire the doctors if they went on strike would roll back the progress made in honoring a return to work agreement signed on the 14th of March this year.
Jubilee!
The head of state was on the road yet again to drum up support for his re-election ahead of the August 8th polls, insisting that his track record would ensure he wins a second term in office.
Sisi kama Jubilee, nyuma ya Uhuru Kenyatta, tuko tayari kwa uchaguzi wa tarehe 8 mwezi wa 8.
The Jubilee government's top brass visited Rwaka Estate before proceeding to Wangige, Kikuyu and Dagoretti in an exercise viewed as a rallying call for their supporters to turn out in large numbers ahead of the polls just 4 months away. Timothy Otieno, KTN News.
Chama cha Uzalendo leader Wavinya Ndeti has officially joined the Wiper Party to take on Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua in the governorship race. At the same time, nominated ODM Senator Elizabeth Ongoro and her supporters stormed party headquarters at Orange House, claiming ODM top machinery were favoring incumbent Tom Kajwang in the Ruaraka parliamentary race with an aim of locking her out.
Supporters of nominated Senator and Ruaraka parliamentary aspirant Elizabeth Ongoro taking Orange House by storm. Their claim was that ODM party organs favored some candidates through issuance of direct nomination tickets, with Ongoro swearing she will contest come rain, come sunshine.
I will be on the ballot. Women have been taken for granted for far too long. If not for myself, I don't want the women coming behind me to reinvent the wheel. Let me fight this battle for the sake of all the young women aspirants.
Ongoro claims sitting MP Tom Kajwang is a favored candidate, but today she wasn't the only complainant.
Raila Odinga is going to be the president of Kenya
there will be free and fair nomination. How come that we are waiting for nomination and this thing was being given an underhand?
But after this push and pull into Orange House and a closed-door meeting with party officials, Ongoro came out disclosing she had established that her name and that of Kajwang had been forwarded to the IEBC for the nomination exercise. Meanwhile, at the Wiper Democratic Movement's party's headquarters at Lavington, former Assistant Minister Wavinya Ndeti was exiting Chama cha Uzalendo and joining the Wiper Party.
Sisi tuko na karibu 2.5 million votes katika hii nchi ya Kenya. Kwa hivyo, as a community, we are also not there to be underrated. We want to be counted among Kenyans, and we want to work with other Kenyans. Yes. We cannot make it on our own. We know we have to work with others, but we want to be given our space as a community.
Ndeti intends to unseat Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua with East Africa Legislative Assembly MP Peter Mathuki as her running mate.
Wavinya Ndeti amepatiwa ruhusa na chama chake ajiunge na Wiper kama member wa Wiper Democratic Movement, na hivi basi kutafuta kiti cha ugavana wa Machakos na tikiti ya Wiper.
Ndeti and Mathuki will face the incumbent Alfred Mutua after the nominations, while Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka continues to fight for his space as a possible NASA presidential flag bearer.
Option 1, Kalonzo. Option 2, Kalonzo. Option 3, Option 4.
These latest developments make the Machakos gubernatorial race more interesting. But at the same time, Kalonzo Musyoka's NASA presidential ambitions remain under sharp scrutiny. Mark Namaswa, KTN News.
The Inspector General of Police, Joseph Boynet, has said he will personally ensure that the police officers caught on tape killing 2 suspects in Nairobi's Eastleigh last week are brought to book. Boynet spoke as the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights and other human rights defenders called for urgent enactment of the Coroner's Bill 2017 to enable independent investigations whenever there are killings by police officers.
In the last 72 hours or so, at least 4 suspected gangsters have been gunned down by the police, 3 in Igembe North and 1 in Kayole, Nairobi. Added to last week's killing of 2 suspected gangsters in Nairobi's Eastleigh, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights now says the police are on a killing spree.
The statistics show that from 2013 to now, 672 young persons, mostly from the so-called informal settlements, have lost their lives.
The Inspector General of Police, Joseph Boynet, has at least gone on record to condemn the police killings in Eastleigh that enraged Kenyans.
Misuse of firearms that is totally outside the confines of our disciplinary code or any law will not be permissible at all.
According to a report released by the Police Reforms Working Group, use of such lethal force, as is in the case of the Eastleigh killings, was uncalled for.
Further, the National Police Service Act of 2011 expounds those situations where firearms can be used and lethal force can be used. It provides that firearms may only be used when less than extreme measures are inadequate and for the following purposes: to save and protect the life of an officer or other persons, or in self-defense or in defense of another person who is in imminent threat of life or serious injury.
The group still believes that despite the start of investigations into the cases of torture and extrajudicial killings implicating the police officers, no justice will ever be served, as the National Police Service is still playing a part in the same cases.
Currently, we have 46 active cases that IPOA is looking at. And out of those 46 cases where police have been accused of misusing their firearms, we've only been able to secure 5 convictions. That tells you that there could be a problem in terms of the ability of the officers, who are the police themselves, to really conduct the investigations and help us secure those convictions.
They now want the president to assent to the National Coroner's Bill 2017 that will allow for an independent investigations into such human rights violations.
Worried, and in Mathura constituency, a very special event was held to cleanse the shrine where a Mogumo tree fell down recently. Now, elders say there is no need to worry, as the special Mogumo tree may just have fallen due to old age. But many in that area say a Mogumo tree just does not fall without signifying something big. Here's Karonderi with more details.
Chants rent the air at Kiamegwe village in Mathura. It was not business as usual. Indeed, this was a serious business. When a Mogumo tree falls, it almost always signals a mighty occurrence, at least according to the customs and beliefs of the Gikuyu community. And so, as it happened, on March 19th, a huge Mogumo tree fell in Mathura, Nyeri. What could it possibly mean? Whispers amongst locals were heard. And today, some elders from the community arrived at the scene, ready for special rituals that are conducted when a Mogumo tree falls, and more so when the area had been used as a shrine. In full regalia, the elders went about their business. They could not take any chances. 2 lambs here were oblivious of their fate. In a little while, they would be slaughtered. One was burned down to ashes and the other was roasted to be feasted on by those present at the shrine. This is in line with Kikuyu tradition. There was more. Traditional beer sweetened with honey, known as moratina, was poured into the fire that had burned down the lands. The animals' offals were also thrown into the fire. During the last general elections in 2013, a Mogumo tree fell in Giakanja area in Nyeri, and the elders at the time interpreted it to mean that there would be a change in leadership. Is there any attached meaning to the falling of the Mogumo tree this time around? The leaders say there is none. In their view, the tree just fell due to old age, having been around for years, and as such, there is no political attachment whatsoever, just old age, they pronounced.
Kuanguka kwa hii miti huwaga na ishara nyingi, na unajua kuna miguno mingi sana iko msituni, na hatuwezi kwenda kutoa sadaka kwa miti yoyote, isipokuwa ni ile miti yenyewe ilikuwa inatolewa sadaka na wazee ya zamani. Kama kuna wakati ile tunasema wakati ya itweka, yaani wakati ya generation, kupeana utawala kutoka kwa hawa na wengine hawa.
Kwa hivyo saa ile ulianguka, watu wote walikuwa naogopa, wakaona kama kuna mambo baya itatokea. Wengine wakasema ati kuna ufalme utaanguka. Wengine wakasema pengine watu wa area hii au eneo hili wamekosea Mungu. Lakini hapana, kwa maana huu Mogumo miaka yake ilitimia, kwa maana mizizi yake ilikuwa imeoza, na ndio ulianguka ukiwa na amani.
There should be no fears both here and outside. This last ceremony therefore is to say goodbye to this tree.
Mathengi Wairegia Kikuyu elders said he had to fast for 8 days prior to this ceremony. It is not always when a Mogumo tree falls that a cleansing ceremony takes place. The area has to have been a shrine. Women were not allowed anywhere near the sacred place, and female journalists had to follow the proceedings from afar. Karonderi, KTN News, Mathura.
Now, just days before marking his 4th anniversary since taking oath of office, President Uhuru Kenyatta has defended his performance and the actions of his administration. Uhuru says he has done much of what he promised to do. He was speaking during rallies in Nairobi and Kiambu today.
Shida ambayo tumekuwa naye katika taifa letu la Kenya ni vile tumebaki nyuma kwa mambo ya maendeleo. Kwa mambo ya maendeleo, kwa mambo ya mabarabara, kwa mambo ya kuunganisha wananchi wetu kwa stima, kwa mambo yale yote ambayo inaweza kutusaidia kama taifa kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumeweza kupata kazi kwa vijana wetu. Na mimi nataka niwaambie, miaka 4 ya utulivu msione kama ni mchezo. Miaka 4 ya utulivu imetuwezesha wenzetu kujenga zaidi ya kilomita 7,000 ambazo sasa aidha zimekamilika au zimeanzwa au zimeendelea kujengwa. Kutoka Kenya ipate uhuru tumejenga kilomita 10,000 peke yake. Tumeweza kufanya kazi hiyo kwa sababu tumekuwa na serikali ambayo inaongea na lugha moja. Mimi naambianga watu, by the way, unajua Kibaki angetimiza. Kama unaweza kuangalia miaka yake ya 5 ya kwanza, kweli alifanya kazi hakufanya? Mimi pia nimeweza kutimiza kwa sababu ya kuungana na ndugu yangu, na tumeunda serikali moja ambaye haina kelele.
Good evening and welcome to KTN Business. My name is Abi Agina. In a surprising show of consumer uptake, the much hyped Emma Kiba mobile-based bond has been closed ahead of time after it sold 150 million shillings worth of bonds. The product, unveiled nearly 2 weeks ago by the National Treasury, started selling the 3-year bond, becoming the first to issue a mobile phone-based bond in the world. The offer was open for 3 weeks, but it closed on Wednesday when the target amount was reached. The 150 million shilling raised is the first tranche of the bond, which was sold out in just 13 days. The balance of 4.85 billion shillings goes on sale in June. Interesting developments around that story. Moving on, the number of Facebook users across Africa has surged to hit 170 million, forcing Facebook to expand its Africa presence in a move to actually expand its offices in Johannesburg. According to the company, since 2015, the number of people connected to Facebook across Africa has grown 42% to over 170 million monthly active users. Of this, 94% come back on mobile. The Facebook team in Africa has thus grown alongside the number of people and businesses who use it and its ecosystem of developers, entrepreneurs, and business partners. Facebook says many people in Africa are coming online for the first time, unleashing new possibilities for themselves and businesses. To an interesting statistic now, the country's economy could finally be getting into an economic slowdown after the private sector business purchasing managers index for the month of March dipped below the 50.0 threshold to hit 48.5 for the first time in the survey's history. According to Stanbic Bank Kenya, the authors of the survey, the PMI at 48.5, the latest figures point to a shrink in the health of the private sector. The private sector recorded marginal growth in new job creation with increased pressure on operating capacity. Most indicators of activity showed deceleration, pointing to weaker underlying demand conditions exacerbated by financial constraints faced by customers. However, despite this, minimal growth, new orders expanded for the 39th consecutive month during March. Firms that noted an increase in new businesses attributed this to a rise in client demand and new projects. Data showed that higher exports contributed to the upturn in total new work as a result of increased demand from abroad and new export markets. And now to another report now. A new report by tax and auditing firm Ernst & Young on fraud shows a rise in cases of fraud over the last 1 year, signaling weak systems in organizations. The report notes that today's businesses are operating in an uncertain economic environment, with 1 in 3 board directors and senior managers saying they could justify offering cash payments to win or retain business. 1 in 4 of Generation Y, that being 25 years to 34 years old, respondents said they could justify offering cash payments to win or retain business. According to the report, this shows how popular discontent with globalization, political instability, and slower growth in emerging markets is placing pressure on companies as they seek alternative ways to meet ambitious revenue targets.
Revenue could be losses due to fraud. Obviously, little get detected, a little get reported. So we don't see companies, unearthing the extent of the fraud losses. When you look at statistics, you look at numbers and cases where fraud has been, fraud losses have been quantified. The estimates would be about 5% of revenue for a company.
The amount of money that is not going to the purpose that it was intended to is a lot. It's a lot of money. So the issue of leakage of revenue is very, very important.
You need to have sufficient detections tools in place to try and detect fraud earlier on, because, and we're not saying that you need to have the Rolls Royce of detection tools. You need to balance that out depending on the organisation.
Startling statistics there. Moving on, works on the second phase of the standard gauge railway project linking Nairobi and Naivasha are expected to commence by early next month. According to Kenya Railways Managing Director Atanas Maina, the Phase 2A has already secured part funding from the Chinese government and it will progress despite concerns raised by environmentalists over the route it follows through the Nairobi National Park. Here's more.
At Namanga.
Business leaders meeting at the annual CEOs Forum in Mombasa, organized by the Vision 2030 Delivery Board, have exuded confidence over Kenya attaining world-class status in her infrastructure.
A lot of the money is coming from outside government. Government provides the de-risking, the initial money.
Phase 1, Mombasa-Nairobi, distance 472 kilometers. That phase is now complete. We are just doing testing and commissioning both of the track and the other facilities, including the stations.
Execution of big-ticket projects such as the multi-billion shilling standard gauge railway took center stage, with the leaders emphasizing the need for transformative projects that will lower the cost of doing business significantly.
We'll operate the passenger trains. One is an express train between Mombasa and Nairobi, with a stop, only one stop at Mtito Andei, and we've already established that we can actually do that below the 4.5 hours that we promised.
The SGR's first phase, linking Mombasa and Nairobi, is about 85% complete, with works expected to be completed by June this year.
The Phase 2A is already in progress. The contractor has already mobilized. We expect to commence the construction by this month.
The second phase is tipped to be a major lifeline for transit cargo, as it will ease pressure on cargo freight stations in Mombasa, thus reducing the dwell time.
We knew that over 70% of the funding of Vision 2030 projects will come from outside government, and that has been the case so far.
Implementation of projects under the Vision 2030 remain a key cog for the Jubilee administration, even as Kenyans head to the polls in August. The bigger issue, though, is to bring on the table investors to partner with Kenya. Abi Agina, KTN Business. So are you a driver, or are you planning to be a driver anytime soon? Well, here's some news that could get you on your toes. By May this year, Kenyan drivers will be issued with a new driving license as the National Transport and Safety Authority institutes reforms in the transport sector. The new driving license will have a magnetic chip and will capture all biodata of a driver and will resemble an ATM card. The move is expected to curb traffic offences as well as weed out rogue drivers on roads without legitimate licenses.
We are targeting by May, you have a new generation driving license. I know we've taken long to be there, but definitely we will be past all the regional driving licenses that will be available. This driving license will have a chip to the size of an ATM card. It is also going to have all your biometrics incorporated into it, so that I can recognize you with your fingerprint to be able to be recognized. But also very importantly,
well, of course, Uganda and Rwanda already have that kind of license. Of course, we expect to see how it comes to be implemented in Kenya. Well, that's all the time we had for here on KTN Business. Many thanks for your valued company. My name is Abi Agina. Let's do this same time tomorrow. Have a lovely night. A very good evening and welcome to today's edition of KTN Sports. My name is Moses Wahisi. We start with matters with the Kenyan Premier League, where we had different ties today, and the FC Leopards was all out lining up against Ulinzi Stars. And for FC Leopards, they're all smiling because they settled for a goalless draw, but currently they top the Kenyan Premier League log. Let's take a look what transpired in that tie.
I'm happy with the work effort of the team. I'm happy with the fitness of the team, and also there's 2 or 3 players who played with injuries, who played with painkillers. So again, I'm okay. We're okay. You know, we'll accept that, and we'll look forward to the next game.
And playing one of the best teams this season. So I think that 1 point is a surplus for me and my team.
And now we talk rugby. This weekend it is going to be the 7th stop of the HSBC World Rugby 7th Series. The Kenyan team is very, very optimistic that they are going to star against South Africa, France and also Canada. The team head coach, that is Innocent Simi, is saying, you know what, I might be missing some of my best players, but I'm confident that the players that I have are going to do duty for the country.
I think it's a good pool. We have a good shot, and hopefully we can execute our strategy on game day. We'll come into the win, and perhaps even hit our targets as we get the win. So we have some players who will double up in some positions. We have colleagues of experience. Of course, we'll also play a bit of a wing or center. We have Oli who can play any position from fly to wing.